Right, moving on to inspiration then.
Okay.
Who or what gives you your inspiration?
Again, I've been thinking about this. Yeah, when I get sent a list of questions, it's never just, oh yeah, I go deep.
Yeah.
I will think of this and I will think about this for about a week and I probably still won't come up with an answer.
No, I like that.
Again,
though.
overthinker.
Yeah.
So I don't have any particular. It's like it's just like my mom. She's just such an inspiration. She'd be mortified if I said that. Just loads of people. I think anybody who follows what follows. I mean, it sounds so wanky. Follows their dream. You know, somebody who has given themselves the time and the space to work out what it is they actually want to do, and that they've then gone out there and done it. And I think, you know, and those brave steps of leaving a job behind or, well, anything. And anybody who absolutely lives what they talk about as well. I don't know, like my martial arts instructor, he can still bang out hundreds of sit-ups, press-ups, all these things, and, he could still, he is an inspiration because but it comes from living what he teaches.
Yeah. Well, I think I saw a thing saying if you can't embody it, you shouldn't be teaching it.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of people out there, especially in the wellness content field, who are pumping out all these platitudes, but they're not actually living their life in accordance with those principles.
Exactly.
So there's a disconnect, isn't there?
That does worry me sometimes, though, because I know I'm still still got a lot of work to do.
No, but I think that's being authentic, though, isn't
Yes.
it? As it's come up a lot on the podcast, Mel Robbins is one of my ultimate role models.
Yes.
And I think the reason she is so powerful is she goes, oh, I've really messed up today.
Yes.
Or, like, this has gone wrong, or I've done this. And people can relate to that.
Yes.
And I think there's a certain power in being authentic on social media.
Yeah.
And I think there's probably that it's going that way now. There is more of that. But there's still a lot of people in white and floating around, isn't there?
Well, exactly. I always say, jangly skirts. You don't. So when I did my Reiki tuning, I thought, what do I wear? Like, do I need a jangly skirt?
Do you need a jangly
for this?
skirt and 16 bracelets
Exactly.
like I've got on?
I've just got my watch. And no, I didn't need a jangly skirt. Equally, I did go in my jeans and I felt like I was in a power suit compared to everyone else in their yoga leggings.
Right.
But it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That was my journey. Mel Robbins, I love Mel Robbins. She's really honest as well.
Yeah.
And also, she's still married. She's a successful woman and she's still married. I think there are so many. I'm like, how do you be a successful woman and remain married? It seems to be tricky. Definitely.
Yeah, well, I think she's talked a lot about that, their difficulties.
Well, and that she's open about them having counselling. Yeah, I think she's amazing. She was one of my people actually when you talked about inspiration, because I thought, do I need like a famous person? So I was thinking, and her, and then like Karen Brady.
Yeah.
A woman, young, in the boardroom of professional sports. Again, I know I've stood in the long room of Lords, and even this was 20. Early when what year are we in?
2024.
I don't even know. Yes, it would have been like 2004, 2005, and you still got funny looks.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, this is the early 2000s. This is insane.
Yeah, that's not that long ago, is it? Because obviously I'm from a construction background.
Yes, of course.
So again, I would be perhaps in a networking event. There'd be 5 women out of 100 there,
exactly.
and some men would actually ignore you.
Yeah.
Like, I've had my hand held out to shake someone's hand, and they've not even shook my hand.
Isn't that outrageous?
So, how was that being in that male-dominated environment?
Well, I've just realised I've got a cracker of a story. One of the sponsors was a well-known bakery, and I was the only woman in the room, and there was a discussion about obviously baking products and such like, and it was like, talking of crumpet, Katie, 2 days ago I'd done my first black belt. I just thought, again, what?
Yeah, I could have you.
Yeah,
and I will.
Lay you out. Yeah. And then in fact, there was a boy I remember, because I was limping one day because I've had an injury from kickboxing, and I say boy because we were all in like our 20s, and even then, he was similar age to me. He went, it's because you do a man's sport.
And he wasn't joking.
No.
It was actually. Oh.
No. So, but I didn't find it, and then there was also 2 girls were, I think, like chief execs of a couple of the other cricket clubs, and they you know, they were known as like, oh yeah, like the ball breakers. Like, no, they're just women.
Yeah.
They're just women doing what they want
Asserting
to do.
themselves.
Assertive women.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They're bossy and aggressive.
I know.
Yeah.
And you don't need to be bossy and aggressive.
No.
And that's not what they're being. They're just being professional.
Themselves, yeah.
Exactly. So it was weird. But also I really wanted to be I didn't want to be in marketing. I wanted to be on the pitch.
Right.
Not playing cricket, because I would have been really rubbish at that. But like, to have been a professional sports person, I remember thinking, I've really missed a trick there. Because I didn't get into kickboxing until I was like late teens.
Yeah.
And I was known as being not particularly into sports at school. In fact, they wanted me to come and train for hurdles because I was weirdly good at that despite being 2 foot tall.
Right.
And I was like, no, but that'd be lunchtime, and then I'd miss eating and chatting.
Right.
So why would I go and do that?
Why would I do that?
I know. Again, divine timing. Obviously wasn't meant to be champion hurdler.
So what sport would you choose if you could go back and be a professional sports person? What would you have chosen?
Definitely some form of athletics.
Athletics,
I reckon hurdles.
Yeah.
I would love. I have had to admit to myself I'm never going to get an Olympic gold. And
well, what about like curling or something?
Curling.
There's a few sports, you know, like the archery.
Yeah.
And bowls.
Shooting.
Yeah, shooting if you've done your weapons training.
Yeah.
So it's never too late. Because I'm sure there's some people on the bowls and the archery that came to it in their 30s and 40s. So
good point. I'm sat here now thinking I obviously don't want it enough because I'm not prepared to give up everything else to go bowls just to get my Olympic gold.
Yeah. No. Well, I think you'd want it to be a sport that you actually enjoyed.
Yeah. So. It's got to be vigorous.
Yeah.
So I was talking to someone last night about getting eyebrows. It's not even microbladed anymore. I don't even know what they call it. It was, and she said, "Oh well, you wouldn't be able to sweat for 3 days." Again, I was like, I sweat overnight. Right. I sweat getting out of bed in the morning. I was like, well, what would I do with kickboxing then? So I'm not going to be having my eyebrows done.
No.
Like problems.
Priorities, isn't it?
Exactly.
So thinking about your coaching then, do you exclusively work with women?
Yes and no. Women are very much my market because I think a lot of like losing yourself comes from stopping work and being at home having children and suddenly just in the absolute chaos. But there are men in that situation and I think men are kind of being not forgotten, but I think look at the male suicide rates. I just think it is frightening. And then talking to somebody the other day, about domestic violence, but where the male is the victim, the police they're like, well, you're just not going to get anywhere because the woman will just say, I felt endangered, even though she's been the one. Yeah. And I just think it's so. If a man wanted to come and be helped, then amazing, because I do think there's. Well, like I said before, we all have our feminine energy and we all have our masculine energy, and it's all about balance. But I do find it's predominantly women that do come to me.
But I just think it's interesting because I think men do struggle in middle age and even have a male menopause in effect because obviously their hormone levels change. Yeah. But I think it must be very hard for them. It's like, oh well, just man up kind of thing, isn't it?
Look where that's got everybody.
Yeah.
Just man up. I'm manned up going to work every day with a migraine, and I would just ended up then having a meltdown, when I was off having babies, because it was almost like you relaxed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how would you like to inspire others then? Because it sounds like you are inspiring a lot of other people through what you've been through, and then how you can use that to help them.
Yeah. I'll never forget, actually, after my meltdown, and then I got back to being fit again. Just got myself out there. And I remember one of the antenatal group said, you've really inspired me to do da-da-da. And I thought, gosh, like she's never said that. And I thought, I haven't really done anything. And I thought, but actually that word made me feel really good. I thought, right, wow, great. So how do I like to inspire people? Just to follow your dreams. But it's true, and again, not just to kind of carry on with the rat race because you think you ought to be doing something. Right, classic example, my mum said about how somebody had given her this piece of cake at some do, and she was like, and I had to eat it, and I knew it would make me feel ill. I said, well, no, you didn't have to eat it, Mum. She said, no, but I did. No, but you didn't. And not at the expense of yourself. So I want to inspire people, to just, but not in a selfish way.
No.
Not be like, I'm doing this, and you can all bugger off. What's my level of swearing on this?
You're fine.
Okay.
Well, obviously Heidi.
Yes. And, good point, actually.
Yeah. So, we did exceed the number of allowable fucks, I think, on that podcast. So
allowable fucks.
Yeah. They've all been rated as explicit, I think, apart from one. So
that's excellent. Anyway, so like I said, it's not a selfish thing. It's just, giving yourself the time and the space, and not doing things because you think you should, because you think someone else thinks you should. What's actually coming from you.
Yeah.
And also, like I said, if I can go from being totally in pieces, crying at my kitchen table, then to stand-up comedy, albeit over a few years, then I think anybody can achieve anything.
Yeah. Well, that is a great inspiration, isn't it? Especially, I think people do derive inspiration from people who've been through a struggle. They don't want to hear you've had a perfect life and you're telling them how to have a perfect life. Yeah. Obviously, they don't want you to have suffered, but the fact that you can draw on your own experience and go, I know what it's like to be down. Yeah. But I also know what it took for me to get out of there.
Exactly.
The effort it took, but I know it's worth it. Yeah. And here is the proof.
Yes.
You're like your own testimonial, aren't you?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yes. A lot of my clients say I'm relatable, which a little bit I'm like, nah, because I'm still a bit, got a bit of work to do.
Yeah. Well, I don't think, like you say, the issues you've had, the challenges, trying to put it in positive language, they don't go away, do they?
They don't.
They just, they
just go to school 9 till 3, and then they come home again.
And then they come home again.
Sorry, I interrupted you there.
No, but I think it's just one of my other coaches said it's like you can put them in a room, close the door, and you might look in occasionally and go, yeah, they're all still there, but they're behaving. But I don't need to keep opening that door, and I don't need to live in that room.
Yes.
So, and that gives you the inspiration to live then, doesn't it?
That's brilliant.
Yeah.